Good morning, students. In the previous class, we have studied how to plot points in the Cartesian plane, right? So how to plot points in the Cartesian plane was what we studied. We have studied that this is a Cartesian plane and there are two number lines put perpendicular to one another. So this is the x-axis and this is the y-axis. And this point or any point in the plane has two positions. One is from the right or the left, which is on the x-axis, and the other position is the y position, which is from the bottom or from the top, right? So the first position, the x coordinate, is called the abscissa and the y coordinate is called the ordinate, right? So we have studied that much and we have stopped. So in this video we'll be doing the exercises. So in the last video we have already covered the entire chapter. Okay, so this is a small chapter, important points and very easy points. So make sure that you watch the video again and again and you fortify the points, and then you come into this video and try to solve the questions which I'm doing. Okay, so now look here, let's revise once. Let's plot the point 0, 5. So 0, 5, 0 is on the x-axis. So on the x-axis we take 0 and on the y-axis it's 5. So on the y-axis we mark 5. So this point is called 0, 5, right? 0 on the x-axis, 5 on the y-axis. So 0, 5, right? Now the next point is 4, 1. Can you see? 4 is the x-coordinate or the abscissa. So 4 is the x coordinate. So on the x-axis it should be 4, right? So from there we draw a line, and till where do we draw a line? We draw a line till 1, right? Y should be 1. So 1, y, and x 4, right? So x is 4, x-axis is 4, y-axis is 1. So where do they meet? They meet at this point. So therefore this is the point 4, 1, right? Now let me just highlight it for you once. 4, this is 4 on the x-axis, so I start drawing a line like this, right? I can draw infinitely. And 1 on the y-axis, so I start drawing another line like this, right? And where do they intersect? The point that they intersect is the point that we need. So that point is 4, 1, right? So that point is 4, 1. Now similarly, here look at this point now, 6 minus 6, 0. How do I plot that point? First I take 0 minus 6 on the x-axis, right? So what is the minus 6 on the x-axis? This one. And 0 on the y-axis. So 0 on the y-axis is this point, right? So on the y-axis 0. So I start drawing the line like this. And on the x-axis is minus 6. So I don't have to draw any line. Minus 6 is already here. So where do they intersect? They intersect at this point, right? So that is why this is called minus 6, 0, right? Now the next point, minus 5, minus 4. How do we plot? Minus 5 on the x-axis and minus 4 on the y-axis. So I plot the point here because they intersect at this point, right? Now another one, 5 on the x-axis, minus 6 on the y-axis. And where do I plot? I plot it here because they intersect here, right? So 5 on the y-axis, you can see 5 on the y-axis, and minus 6 in the x-coordinate. So minus 6 in the x-axis. So we plot the point here, right? So this is how we plot the point. You know how to plot the point now, right? So keeping this in mind, let's see one point here. Look at these points, minus 6, 0. Minus 6 is on the x-axis. So where do I start from? Minus 6 is on the x-axis. So I mark minus 6 first. Then 0 on the y-axis. So 0 on the y-axis, this is 0 on the y-axis, right? So now when I join these two lines, the point that they intersect is where I have to draw the point. So this is my point, right? So can you see that this point actually lies on the x-axis? So this point, that is minus 6, 0, lies on the x-axis, right? So like that itself, take another point 5, 0 here. You can see 5, 0. So where is 5? 5 is the x-axis. X coordinate is 5. So I mark 5 on the x-axis. And 0 is the y coordinate. So 0 is the y coordinate. So this is where 5, 0 is. So you can see 5, 0 here, right? So you can see that whenever the y coordinate is 0, whenever the y coordinate is 0 and the x coordinate only is a number, right? Then that kind of point lies on the x-axis. Okay, what did I say? The point on the x-axis will always have y-coordinate 0. So you take any point on the x-axis. Suppose I take -3. What is the coordinates of this -3? X-axis -3, y-axis will be 0. So any point you take on the x-axis, you will always have the y-coordinate 0. Okay? For example, this point, if I take this point, what is the coordinate of this point? This point is 2, and what is y-axis? 0, right? Because it is on the x-axis. Okay, so whenever a point is on the x-axis, then the y-coordinate is 0. Okay, suppose this point, what is the coordinates of this point? Is it on the x-axis? Yes, -2 is on the x-axis, right? So what is the coordinate? -2, and what is the y-coordinate? 0. Why? Because it is on the x-axis. So whenever a point is on the x-axis, then the y-coordinate is 0. Okay, remember that the point on the x-axis will always have y-coordinate 0. Okay, remember this point. Now the total opposite case of this point is this one. Look at this point, 0, 5. Can you see that it lies on the y-axis? X coordinate is 0, so x coordinate is 0 on the x-axis, and 5 on the y-axis, so 5 on the y-axis. 0 on the x-axis, 5 on the y-axis. So how, by which line is they connected? By which line are they connected? Let me draw the line for you. This line, right? This straight line. This straight line is by the line which connects them, right? So that means the point is on the y-axis. So can you see the point is on the y-axis? So whenever a point is on the y-axis, then the x coordinate will be 0. Okay, you can see that the x coordinate is 0 here, right? So x coordinate will be 0 whenever the point is on the y-axis. Okay. So another example here we have taken 0, -3. So you can see 0, -3. Now -3 is on the y-axis and x coordinate is 0. So x is 0 and -3 is on the y-axis. Y coordinate, this is y coordinate, right? So -3 is on the y-axis. So whenever -3, whenever a point is on the y-axis, then the x coordinate will be what? 0. So what have we learned? Whenever a point is on the, what did we learn? Whenever a point is on the y-axis, then the x coordinate will always be 0. Just the opposite case of what we learned in the previous one, right? In the previous point, right? So the same thing. So let me summarize once. Whenever a point is on the y-axis, then the x coordinate will be 0. Whenever a point is on the y-axis, then x coordinate will be 0, right? And whenever a point is on the x-axis, the y coordinate will be 0. That you have to remember, okay? Whenever a point is on the x-axis, y coordinate will be 0, right? And whenever a point is on the y-axis, then the x coordinate will be 0. So clearly you can see from these examples, x coordinate 0, x coordinate 0. Why? Because both the points are on the y-axis. Okay, so this is a very, very important point. You have to remember this point. If I tell you a point is on the x-axis, then you can automatically tell me y coordinate is 0. If I tell you a point is on the y-axis, you can automatically tell me that the x coordinate is 0, right? So the next one, we'll be starting with our exercise 3.1. Actually, both the questions of exercise 3.1 are likely not to be asked in the exam, but we have to do it. So the first question we'll do, the second question we'll be doing as an assignment. Okay, so the first question, let's see. How will you describe the position of a table lamp on your study table to another person? Now, suppose you have a study table, right? And on that you have a study lamp, okay? Then if I ask you what is the position of this lamp, then what will you say? How will you explain its position to me? That is what they have asked in the question. Okay, how do we use the coordinate system in order to explain the position of this lamp on the table? Okay, that is what we are going to see. So now you can see that, look, this table, if I look from top, it will look like this, right? So can you see this? This is the top view of the table. So this is our table and this is our lamp. Now can you see that this table has four sides? Yes. So if I draw a line from this side perpendicular, okay? If I draw a line perpendicular to this side, that is this black line here, and if I draw another line perpendicular to this side, okay, then both of them will meet at the lamp. Can you see? Yes. So we draw two perpendiculars from this side and from this side that will meet at the lamp. Okay. So here you can clearly see that AD side is perpendicular to DC, right? Why? Because AD looks like this and DC looks like this. So definitely the angle between them is 90 degree. So definitely AD and DC, they are perpendicular to each other, right? This is A, this is D, and this is C. As you can see in the picture, this is AD and this is DC, right? So definitely they are perpendicular to one another. So I can take this as the y-axis. Can I take this as the y-axis? Yes, I can assume that this is like the y-axis and this is like the x-axis. Why? Because when I take a coordinate system or when I take a Cartesian plane, I know that this is always the y-axis. So this is always a y-axis. Why? This is a vertical line. The vertical line is always y-axis. And the horizontal line, this line is called the x-axis, right? So I'll treat this side of the table as x-axis and this side of the table as y-axis. Okay? So that is what I'm saying here. You can see here AD is perpendicular to DC. AD is perpendicular to DC. So therefore, they can act as y-axis and x-axis respectively. So therefore, they can act as y-axis and x-axis respectively, I've written. So respectively means AD can act as y-axis and DC can act as x-axis, right? So AD can act as the y-axis and DC can act as the x-axis, right? So I can say that by using ABCD as a Cartesian plane. So treating this as a Cartesian plane, ABCD as a Cartesian plane, that is the tabletop, AD and DC as coordinate axis. So I'm treating this table as a Cartesian plane and this side of the table as coordinate axis. That means this is the y-axis and this is the x-axis. So I'm treating AD and DC as a coordinate axis, right? So if I treat this as the y-axis and this is the x-axis, clearly this is the x coordinate and this is the y coordinate, right? So therefore I can say that EO is the x coordinate, that is abscissa, and FO is the y coordinate, that is ordinate. So I can write EO FO. Why? Abscissa is first, then ordinate, right? So I can write abscissa ordinate. So abscissa is what? 30 and ordinate is what? 20. So I can say that if this is a Cartesian plane, and this are the y and x axis respectively, then this is the x coordinate and this is the y coordinate, right? Because why? Because in a Cartesian plane, whenever I draw like this and suppose this is a point 1 2, what does it mean? It means that 1 means x axis, it's 1, right? So I'll draw this, right? 1. That means this distance is 1, right? And it's 2. 2 is y coordinate, means what? This is 2, right? This is 2 and this is 1. That is what it means, right? This is 1 and this is 2. That means this length is 1 and this length is 2. That is what it means. So likewise, same thing I'm using here with the table. You can see this. I've treated this as the y-axis and this as the x-axis. So this point, from this point to this point, if I mark like this, and this point if I take as the position of the lamp, then this is 30 and this is 20. 20 means, this is 30 means what? on the x-axis also this is 30 itself, right? Because these are both the same distances. This distance and this distance is the same. So this is 30 means this is also 30. So that means here it is going to be 30 on the x-axis. And if this is 20, then definitely this is also 20. So on the y-axis, this is going to be 20. So that means 30 and 20 when I joined, then I got the position of my lamp, which is this position, right? This position. So that is what basically I'm trying to explain from here. We have taken this table as a Cartesian plane and the two sides of the table as x and y axis respectively, y and x axis. Then I told that this is 30 centimeter and this is the length measured from the y-axis along the x-axis. So definitely this is what coordinate? This is the x coordinate, right? And this is the distance measured from the x-axis along the y-axis. So this is the y coordinate like we studied yesterday, right? So this is the x coordinate, this is the y coordinate. That means this is the abscissa and this is the ordinate. So I've written this abscissa and ordinate. So which means that this lamp is at which position? What is the position of this lamp? 30, 20. So I have used the Cartesian plane and explained the position of the study lamp on the table to you. Okay, so that is what they have asked us to do in the question. So now let's look at the second one. Second question, as I told you, will be an assignment for you, okay? And also it will not be coming in your exam, it's just a conceptual question, okay? So now next is exercise 3.2. So exercise 3.2, question number 1, let's read. Write the answer of each of the following questions. So we have to answer the questions. So let's read the question. What is the name of the horizontal and vertical lines drawn to determine the position of any point in the Cartesian plane? Okay, so what is the question? The question is, what is the name of the horizontal? Horizontal line means this line, right? What is the name of the horizontal and the vertical line, okay, that we draw in a Cartesian plane? So if this is a Cartesian plane, the two lines, the horizontal and the vertical line that we draw, what are they called? They are called the y-axis and the x-axis respectively, right? And why are they drawn in the Cartesian plane? They are drawn in the Cartesian plane so that whenever we take a point, then I can determine the position of that point, right? Only if I have the x and the y-axis, then I can tell the position of that point according to the numbers on the x-axis and the y-axis, right? So that is what they are asking us. They are asking us what are the names of the horizontal and the vertical lines that are drawn in a Cartesian plane, okay, to determine or to find out the position of any point. So the horizontal line means this kind of line. So horizontal line is what? X-axis, right? And what is a vertical line called? Vertical line means this kind of line. So what is a vertical line called? Y-axis. So horizontal line is called x-axis, vertical line is called y-axis. So that is what we wrote. Next, what is the name of each part of the plane formed by these two lines? Okay, so they have asked us next, what is the name of each part, okay, of the plane that is formed by these lines? Okay, so these lines, these horizontal and vertical lines, okay, these horizontal and vertical lines, how many parts does it form? 1, 2, 3, 4. It forms 4 parts of the plane, right? And what are these 4 parts called? We have already studied. They are called quadrants. Can you see that? They are called quadrants, right? So what are these quadrants called? The lines, the horizontal line, the vertical line divides the plane into 4 parts. 1, 2, 3 and 4. What are these 4 parts called? They are called quadrants, right? We have studied it yesterday. They are called quadrants. This is the first quadrant, second quadrant, third quadrant and fourth quadrant. So that's what we have written as the answer. So what is the name of each part of the plane formed by these two lines. The name of the part of the plane formed by these two lines are the x-axis and the y-axis divide the Cartesian plane into 4 quadrants. So the name of each part is what? The name of this part is quadrant 1. The name of this part is second quadrant. The name of this part is third quadrant, and the name of this part is fourth quadrant, right? So the lines form 4 parts, which are called 4 quadrants. Okay. Now the third part of the question. Write the name of the point where these two lines intersect. Okay, so these two lines means what? The horizontal line and the vertical line, they intersect at one point, and this point is called what? We have already studied yesterday. This point is called the origin. So that is what they have asked us to write. They have asked us to write the name of the point where these two lines intersect. So these two lines intersect at which point? Origin, right? So they intersect at origin. So the name of the point where the x and the y-axis intersect is called the origin. Okay, so in question 2, they have given us figure, that is the picture they have given us, and we have to look at the picture and we have to write the coordinates of the points that they've given us. Okay, so the first is we have to write the coordinates of B. Coordinates of B means what? We have to write the x coordinate, we have to write the x coordinate, and we have to write the y coordinate of point B, right? That is the abscissa and the ordinate, right? So we have to write the abscissa and the ordinates of point B. Let's see. Now here in this picture, if you look carefully, you can see that B is here, right? B is here. In your picture, in your textbook, this picture is given, okay? So you have to look at point B. B is, what is the point? It is x-axis of B is -5 and y-axis of B is 2. So you can see that it is -5, 2, right? So that is why B is -5, 2. So x coordinate of B is -5 and y coordinate of B is 2. So B is -5, 2. Okay. Next, the coordinates of point C. So let's look at the figure again. So point C, where is point C? This is point C, you can see here, right? So in point C, you can see the x coordinate is 5, right? The line is drawn from 5, so the x coordinate is 5 and the y coordinate is -5, right? So you can see 5 and -5. When you draw these two lines, that is when you get the point C, right? So you can see 5 and -5 are the points of point C, coordinates. So first you write the x coordinate, so 5, and what is the y coordinate? -5, right? So 5 and -5 is the coordinate of C. So the x coordinate is 5, y coordinate is -5. So the point of C is, or the coordinates of C is 5 -5, right? Next one. The point identified by the coordinates -3, -5. Now they have given us the coordinates and we have to see which point does this coordinate belong to, right? So let's see. -3, -5, that's what we have to find, right? So let's see. -3 on the x-axis. So x coordinate is -3. You can see this is x, right? So x coordinate is -3. Let's look. X coordinate -3 and y coordinate is -5. So y coordinate is also negative. So y coordinate is -5. So let's see. When I join this line and this line, where does it intersect? It intersects here, right? So I can see that that point is, what is that point? The point is E, right? The point is E. So I can see that this coordinate belongs to the point E. Okay, that's what we have to write. That was our question. In our question, they gave us a coordinate and they asked us which point does this coordinate belong to. So we saw that it's -3 and -5. So definitely it belongs to E. So from figure, E is -3, -5. So therefore the point is E. Okay. Next, the point identified by the coordinates 2, -4. So let's look at the picture again. 2, -4. So 2 and -4. That means x should be 2 and y should be -4. So let's search 2 - 4. So 2 is x-axis 2 and y-axis -4. So y-axis -4. So definitely these 2 points, when I join, I'll meet here at G, right? So that means this coordinate belongs to, or this coordinates or this point belongs to which point? G. It belongs to G, right? So that's why I'll write G. So you can see again 2 and -4 belongs to G, right? So from figure, G is 2 - 4. So therefore the point required is G. Next. Now we have to find the abscissa of the point D. So let's look at D. Point D is this. What are the coordinates? X-axis is 6, y-axis is 2. So definitely it's 6, 2, right? And what do we have to write? We have to write the abscissa. Abscissa means what? 6. The first one, x coordinate. Abscissa means what? X coordinate. So what is the x coordinate of the point D? 6, right? So how did I find it again? They asked us in the question, write the abscissa of point D. So first we have to find the coordinates of D. So what is the coordinate of D? Y-axis 2, x-axis 6. So you can see 6, 2 is the coordinate of D, right? Now what is the abscissa? The x coordinate is called the abscissa. So what is the abscissa? 6 is the abscissa, okay? So here look, abscissa means the x coordinate, right? Now from figure, D is 6, 2, right? And therefore abscissa is 6. So you can see that. Therefore the abscissa is 6. So likewise, same manner, you have to do this 2 questions as homework, because the same manner, okay? 6 and 7 you have to do as homework. Now the 8th part. The coordinates of the point M. Now we have to write the coordinates of the point M. So let's look at M. M, as you can see, it's on the x-axis, right? M is on the x-axis. So which coordinate will be 0? If it's on the x-axis, then what will be 0? We have studied before. What will be 0? Y coordinate will be 0, right? So it will be of the form what? It will be of the form x 0, right? Y coordinate will be 0 and x coordinate will be some number. So let's see. M, we have to find the coordinates of point M. So where's point M? Let's look. Where's point M? Point M is here. So what is the point? This one, -3, right? And what is y-axis? 0. Since it is on the x-axis, we can see that it has only x coordinate, no y coordinate, right? So that's why it's called M is -3, 0. We can see that. And therefore the x coordinate is -3 and y coordinate is 0. So M is -3, 0. So the coordinates of point M is -3, 0. Okay, so let's read the question. In which quadrant or on which axis do these points lie? And we have to verify our answer, that whatever answer we get, we have to verify it using the Cartesian plane also. Now they have given us different points and we have to say in which quadrant does this point belong to, right? So before that, let's refresh our memory. We have 4 quadrants. These are the 4 quadrants. We know that in the first quadrant, both numbers are positive. Why? Because this is also positive and this is also positive, right? Then in the second quadrant, we have x-axis is negative and y-axis is positive. Why? Because x-axis is negative, y-axis is positive, right? Then we have both are negative. That is, x-axis is negative and y-axis is also negative, right? So negative, negative. Then we have y-axis, x-axis is positive, y-axis is negative. So x-axis is positive and y-axis is negative, right? So these are the quadrants. Now look, this number minus plus, so negative positive. So negative positive belongs to the second quadrant. So second quadrant. Then we have positive negative. So positive number, then negative number. So it belongs to the fourth quadrant. So fourth quadrant. Then we have this one. Don't look at this now. Let's look at the next one. 1, 2. 1, 2, both positive. So both positive means first quadrant. So this one, right? And the last one, -3, -5, both negative. So both negative means third quadrant. So the number is going to be in the third quadrant. So third quadrant, right? Now, look at this case. Look at this case. They've told us -1, 0. So clearly y coordinate is 0. So when y coordinate is 0, where does the point lie? On the x-axis. That's what we have studied, right? So x is -1. So you can see clearly x is -1, right? So x is -1. So where is -1? -1 is here. X is -1, right? And y is 0. So 0, -1. So where is the point? This is the point, right? So where does that point lie? The point lies on the this is -1. So the point lies on the negative x-axis. So you can see that it lies on the negative x-axis. So this is the positive x-axis because all the values are positive here, right? And this is the negative x-axis. So all the values are negative here. So that's why it lies on the negative x-axis. Okay. So that's why the answer is negative x-axis. Next one. So they've asked us to verify by plotting those points in the coordinate plane or in the Cartesian plane, right? So let's plot the point. The first one was -2, 4. So -2, 4 means x-axis is -2, y-axis is 4. So -2, 4. So this is -2, 4, right? Next one is 1, 2. So 1 is in the x-axis. So 1 is on the x-axis. 2 is in the y-axis. 2 is in the y-axis. When you join the lines, you get this point. So 1, 2, right? Next, 3, -1. So 3 is in the x-axis. 3 in the x-axis. -1 in the y-axis. So -1 in the y-axis. So the line which we draw is this line and this line. Where do they intersect? This point, right? So that is 3, -1. So when you draw the line, remember you have to draw a straight line. Even if my line is crooked here, you have to draw the straight line, okay? Now next one is -1, 0. -1, 0 means on the y-axis it should be 0 and on the x-axis it should be -1. So this is the line, right? So this is the point. So -1, 0. You can see -1, 0 is this point. Next, -3, -5. So you can see -3, -5. X-axis is -3, so -3. Then y-axis is -5, so -5. So x, y. So -3, -5. So this is the point where they intersect. So this is -3, -5. So you can clearly see that this point is in the second quadrant, this point is in the first quadrant, this point is in the fourth quadrant, and this is in the third quadrant. And this one is on the negative x-axis. You can see that, right? So this is how we verify the points, verify the first part of the question, okay? Now the second question, the final question of this chapter. We have to plot the points xy given in the table. X and y is given. This is the first xy, second xy, third xy, fourth xy, and fifth xy. So we have been given 5 xy values and we have to plot this on a Cartesian plane and we have to choose the suitable units of distance on the plane, okay? So now what does that mean and how do we plot it? Let's see. Now this is a Cartesian plane. When you draw it, you're going to draw it using a graph paper. And each cube, this one piece cube here will look like this in your graph paper, right? Your graph paper, it will look like this. Probably you'll be using green color graph paper and there'll be small 4 boxes. One box will be divided into small 4 boxes, okay? So look at that. Now we have to plot x and we have to plot y. And x, the first point is -2, 8. Why -2, 8? Because x-axis is -2 and y-axis is 8, right? So -2, 8 is the first point. So let's plot that, -2, 8. So x-axis -2, then y-axis 8. So y-axis is 8. So that means I have to go up, right? 8 is positive, so I have to go this side. So 8 and -2. So you can see that this is the point, -2, 8. Now next point, -1, 7. So how do I do? X-axis is -1. So where is -1 on the x-axis? This. Then y-axis is 7. So I have to take 7 on the y-axis. So where do they meet? when I draw this line, when I draw this straight line and this straight line, where do they intersect? They intersect at this point, right? So this is -1, 7. So that is our next point, -1, 7, right? Now the next point is 0, 0, -1.25. Now look, x-axis is 0. So x-axis is 0 means this point will lie on the y-axis, because x coordinate is 0, right? So it will lie on the y-axis. That means it will lie somewhere here. Okay, it will lie somewhere here. So now let's see. -1.25. -1.25 means, now look, this is the cube. This is each cube, right? This one cube is this. Okay, it's a bigger version so that I can show you how to count. Now each cube in your graph paper will be divided into 10 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. So 10 parts, right? So that means 1 to 2. If you want to go from 1 to 2, how will you count? This as 1.1, this as 1.2, this as 1.3, this as 1.4, then this dark green line as 1.5, then 1.6, 1.7, 1.8, 1.9 and then 2. That is how we count, right? So when you count, you can see that this one is, you can see that this is 1, this one, right? And this is 1.2, 1.1. Then we have 1.2. Then we have 1.3. So definitely 1.25, it lies between which number and which number? 1.2 and 1.3, right? So definitely this 1.25 is going to be 1.25 is going to be somewhere in between here. So we have to plot this point, okay? So how did I plot that? Somewhere here, okay? So that's why I plotted this as 0 minus 1.25. Next one, 1, 3. So 1 on the x-axis, 3 on the y-axis. So I have to draw the lines. I have to draw 2 lines like this, perpendicular, and the point that they intersect is 1, 3. So 1, 3 is this point. And the last one, 3 minus 1. So x-axis is 3 on the x-axis, minus 1 on the y-axis. So here minus 1 on the y-axis, minus 1. So we have to draw 2 lines. When we draw the lines, they intersect at this point, which is 3 minus 1, right? So that is how we plot a point. We have learned plotting the point several times in this chapter. So this will be easy for you. So we have to plot these points and we have to plot them taking appropriate distance or appropriate scale. Scale means what? Once, this is the scale, okay? This is the scale. And how much is this one cube? What is the length of this one cube? We take it as 1 centimeter, okay? This length is 1 centimeter. So this 1 centimeter shows how many units. Units means, units can be anything. Units can be centimeter, kilometer, meter, kg, depending on the question, okay? So here, what is it? It's centimeter, right? So this 1 unit, this 1 centimeter represents 1 unit. So 1 centimeter cube represents 1 unit. Why 1 unit? Because after 1, can you see which number is it? 2. Then again 3. So you can see that when 1 is plus with 1, then you get 2. Then again plus with 1, then you get 3. So this one small box is 1 unit. Okay. So 1 centimeter is 1 unit. That is the scale. Now suppose it was this way. Suppose here it was 2 and then it was 4. Then 1 unit is how much? 1 unit is 4 minus 2, 2 centimeter. So 1 centimeter is 2 units. That's what I would have written, right? So that is how we look at the units, okay? So that is a scale. So that's what they have told us, to take appropriate scale and then mark the points. So this is it. Chapter 3 has been completed here. Now if you have any doubts, you can ask me, you can approach me, okay? Otherwise, this chapter has been completed, so make sure that you have watched both the videos of this chapter. In the first video, we have cleared all the concepts of the chapter, and in the second video, we have cleared all the notes of the chapter. So make sure that you watch these videos properly and you learn this chapter, because it will come for the periodic test which is to be conducted next week, okay? So study well and see you in the next video.